Hello, Jessica. How are you?
Hi, hi. Sorry, I think you had some difficulty getting in here.
Just a little, just a little. Can
Okay.
you hear me fine?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can hear you
Okay.
pretty well.
So let's, I guess, just start off with like a little introduction. I've just kind of been like rambling. Give us an introduction, tell us who you are, and then I can introduce myself. So take it away. Tell us who you are.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much for having me. Uh, in general, for Match a Resident and for your time, Jessica. So today I'm wearing I didn't get very well dressed because I'm passing through the vid right now. So I'm just
The Rona.
Yeah, that's it. So if you, don't know if you can listen to my voice. It sounds a little, yeah, off, right?
You sound a little congested.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. But well, in general, we're doing fine, and we're here today to help everyone trying to figure it out, this difficult puzzle of a rank order list. So
hmm
in general, a brief introduction to myself would be that I am a I was born and raised in Costa Rica. I
hmm
underwent medical school here, and after that, it's been a long journey, approximately 8 years in the making for me to, yeah, get the maturity and the financial stability and everything to be able to apply to the U.S. healthcare system. And yeah, it, during this long journey, I've been through approximately 15 job experiences, including a residency here in my home country.
hmm
So yeah, I've always been active in this, and I've seen your stories. I really appreciate what you're doing in Instagram and what you're sharing. It's very valuable information. So I would, before you introduce yourself, I would tell everyone to go follow you because you have very good advice for everyone.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. So you're applying this year, right? Is this the first
Yes,
time that you're applying to match?
this is hopefully the first and last time I'm applying for the match. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, this is the first one. So you already applied. Well, tell us
hmm
about yourself.
Let me ask you real quick, what specialty are you applying to?
Okay, so I'm applying to internal medicine.
Okay.
That's the start of my journey in the US,
Okay.
hopefully.
Okay, good. Yeah, so good luck. I'm sure you're going to be great. It's a stressful process for anybody. Especially I think IMGs kind of have an even harder time just because not everyone gets the same guidance because everyone trains all over the country. Um, I kind of introduced myself a little bit earlier, but again, I'm Dr. Darris. Jessica is my first name, also known as Procrastination MD. Here on Instagram. I am a US IMG. I'm from Ohio, here in the United States originally, and I completed my medical education in the Caribbean. So I'm a Caribbean IMG. I graduated from St. George's University in 2020. And I am currently a PGY2 neurology resident here in Kansas City, Missouri, at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. So my interview season and everything was in person. So mine was like the typical like interview season and stuff. I didn't experience a virtual interview season. So I know that it's a whole other ball game for you guys, like doing it that way. It's a different experience. And I mean, this whole process in general is a very expensive process. So
Hmm.
getting good resources and understanding how things works at least maybe helps you not like spend unnecessary money.
Hmm.
Um, so you've gone through your interview season already. Do you have any more interviews left or are you done?
Okay, so yeah, that's before going into that, that's a great topic or point you mentioned, which is we are living through very, yeah, new times in the
Mm-hmm.
application process. So when you applied, you did go personally and visit several programs.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to spend some amount of money in order to visit the
Yes.
program. So you probably most people have a limited budget and have to think it clearly before they go to all these different places they will be interviewing at. So
Mm-hmm.
right now with the virtual interviews, things are a little cheaper on that aspect that you don't have to fly to all these places. But the on the downside, the positive side is you can apply to more programs because
Mm-hmm.
you have more money. So the money you didn't invest flying to Texas, to New York, and everywhere else, you can invest applying to programs. What happens is that many people see this as it is, which is the
Mm-hmm.
possibility of investing and applying to more programs. And in the end, everyone is applying to many more programs. And that's why several of the programs I've interviewed at have received more than 6,000 applications.
Mm-hmm.
In general, from those 6,000 applications, 200 applicants are taken into account for interviews. So if it was, I believe competitiveness is getting even more, yeah, it's getting to a point which is basically ridiculous because most programs can't even take into account all these
Right.
applications. So this is like a calling for everyone to be extra careful with all their application, take into account Match Your Resident and its different yeah, tips for improving your application. Take into account also Dr. Jessica because she will help you out with your CV, right? I read
Mm-hmm.
her, you can help yeah people out with CV and all, and we have to be very careful and make the best out of this because everyone's applying everywhere. So in my case, for now, I've had I will have a total of a little more than 10 interviews.
Okay.
um, yeah, I haven't finished the interview season yet. I'm missing like 2 to 3 interviews,
Mm.
and yeah, but it's basically over. It's getting to the end because
Mm-hmm.
rank order list will start in February 1st, right?
I believe so. So generally speaking, like the opportunity to actually put your rank order list together is available when once interview season is complete. And generally speaking, it is like the end of January is usually when interview season is over. I mean, even when it was in person, like it would sometimes extend into January. And you're right. I mean, as far as expenses, the amount of money it costs to apply to residency, as well as like when we traveled and whatever, like it was very expensive. So it did limit the amount of like interviews that people could actually make.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sometimes it's tough, especially with respect to COVID and actually not having to travel. Sometimes applying to more programs, I understand like sometimes it's not always the best move, but like, to each their own. Like it's just you have that money, you have like the ability to apply to more programs. I think really the whole thing is applying smart, but also just taking into consideration like this is going to be the next few years of your life. So taking into consideration like, okay, do I actually want to be in this state? Like take a look and see like what cost of living is. Like all of these things are important to take into consideration when you're actually putting your rank order list together.
Mm-hmm.
I know Metro Residence website had like the option for wherever you interviewed, like they would ask you a couple questions and kind of help you like put together a rank order list. And at least for me personally, I took a lot of notes during all of my interviews, and then like based on what I felt was important, I made like an Excel spreadsheet
Mm-hmm.
for the programs just because of like, cost of living, like could I see myself living there for like 4 years, which is how long a neurology residency is, and things like that. Did I like the people? Did I like the programs that were offered? Was the pay reasonable for cost of living?
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to tie into how you should actually put your rank order list together.
Of course.
And I mean, and I was explaining it before, like the whole point of the match, even though it seems super unfair because like it's just, I feel like it's all a mind game. I'm sure like everyone feels that way in the midst of it. But it is an algorithm that is serves to allow people the best chance or the most fair chance to match into a residency training program because it is competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
I guess if you want, we can kind of take your situation as an example and kind of use it of how like you will put together a rank order list. Is that okay? Do you want to do it that way? You
Okay.
don't have to share where you like applied or anything, but we can just like kind of use you as an example.
Okay. Okay. That sounds great. Actually, okay. So I'll give you guys my 2 cents for now on this. I still don't have my rank order list ready. So for everyone watching, well, first of all, this isn't my actual setup for interviews, so you will see me a little uncomfortable with this setup right now because actually I usually use the webcam, and right now I'm using like the ring light and I put my cell phone on it. So if I look upwards with my glasses, you'll see this. I don't want you guys to see that, so I'll try to,
I have
yeah,
one
that's
too.
it.
So you're in,
That's
you're
it.
in, you know.
So,
So
yeah,
let's talk about you have at least, let's say minimum 10, okay,
yeah,
programs that you're applying to. The biggest thing with the rank order list is it allows you up to 20 programs to list for free. So the people who have more than 20 programs to rank, um, it can cost you money after that point. So that's something to take into consideration, but also understanding like only rank places that you actually want to go to.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
So what are some important things for you, I guess, like when, as far as like choosing a program, did you have a list of things that like were
Mhm.
definite yeses or definite nos?
Of course. So, okay. So in my case, since I have a little more than 10 programs, I'm I was at some point I was actually thinking on ranking all of them, but I've already lived through a residency here in my home country, so I know what a residency is like. I
Mhm.
know what are the experiences you can live, and I make the most of the of this you just stated, which is you have to be sure you are willing to undergo that residency program, because it's not only getting into the US healthcare system. You have to be careful. You have to watch out for your health.
Mhm.
So if you go into a program you don't have a good gut feeling of, and yeah, you might even end up worse off. So you have to be sure that whatever you're going to rank is a place that you will be willing to go. And if this means having to leave someplace out, I believe it would be the best option. So in my case, that I have a, a little more than 10 options, I'm probably leaving two out of the rank order.
Mhm.
I'm ranking all the other programs. I'm first of all, so first of all, you have to decide uh, why am I not going to a certain program? So the program I'm not going to is a program I saw that everyone who was there looked very, very fatigued, looked burnt out, and and weren't, when I asked them about negatives, is they talked about several different negative things, which I wasn't expecting them to be so honest about.
Mhm.
And those are good things. We have to appreciate that, but that's where you have to count things out and see things in a context. For example, if you're in a war zone right now, probably going to this place is much better than being in your home country where you're living a war. Uh, in my case, I believe I could wait another year if necessary, instead of going to a place where I won't feel motivated, won't feel I can give all my potential. So that's point number one. That's why I'm leaving like two programs out of the case. And
Mhm.
after that, we have to individualize what is the most important aspects for each one of us. For example, what about family? Is family important for you? So in my case, I am an only child, and my parents are here in Costa Rica. I would probably have to come and visit them. So those are things to take into consideration when I'm comparing a program in New York to a program in Florida, for example.
Mhm.
So Florida to Costa Rica will take me 2.5 hours to be here. In New York will take me approximately 7.5 or even 8 hours to come home. So
Mhm.
it depends on where I rank that. That's not my top priority, but it's something that in two programs that are very similar amongst themselves, I could rank a program a little lower than the other just
Mhm.
based on location. Other things I take into account is that I also would like to have a good quality of life. Um, of course, I know that residency isn't the time you will it's not your retirement time, of course, but
Hmm.
you definitely want to know that when you get out of the hospital, you'll have a place that you can actually feel fond of. So that's another reason I am not there's a program that is very, very strong academically that I am not willing to rank or rank highly because it's in the middle of nowhere. So
Hmm.
the middle of nowhere will mean something to me. It will mean something else to you, but
Hmm.
those are things we have to take into account. So um, all these different yeah investigations we have to do before ranking the programs. So yeah, I have to be honest. I wasn't working that much on ranking the programs until this last week that I
Hmm.
got the vid. So I got the vid, and I've been working on the rank program list the whole day.
Hmm.
And the reason I didn't have to work so much through it is mainly because I was using the Match Resident tools, which is very good. I would recommend everyone here um, after interviewing to use the Rank Assist tool, because when you think hindsight, right, or retrospectively,
Hmm.
it's very difficult for you to be able to differentiate what are the positives and the negatives from a program, because of course, everything will look better once it's fresh. When it's fresh, it usually might look better or worse. If you give it a month, you won't be
Hmm.
able to compare things correctly. So
Right.
yeah, I've been working on that. I have other things I take into account, but I don't want to keep on just rambling and talking.
No, you're fine. I mean, I think that you make a very valid point because, like, if you learn nothing or take anything away from this IG Live, like, the way that you should rank is where you want to be, not how you think you're gonna be ranked. Because, like, this whole thing, even though it feels like maybe the odds are stacked against you, it's supposed to work in your favor. And I
That's
have
it.
friends who have ranked programs based on how they thought they were gonna be ranked and then wound up matching at a place that they really weren't happy with. I mean, the other thing to take into consideration is if you've matched to, or if you've applied to more than one specialty. So for internal medicine, it tends to be a 3-year categorical program, right, which includes your intern year and then the other 2 years of training. So the way that your list will work is you will have just like one primary list that lists all of your categorical programs. And again, you will rank them how you want them to be, where you want to go, like so one to whatever. But then for people like, for instance, like neurology is also considered an advanced residency program. It can be, and they can also be categorical programs. So that includes a supplemental list. So that's something that you personally won't have to deal with, but it's just a whole other aspect of the rank order list to take into consideration. And so for that, and I'm just going to touch on it a little bit, um, for advanced programs, so this is like neurology, dermatology, radiology, and things like that. If it's not a categorical program, which means that the intern year isn't included, that you're applying to, and you're applying to an advanced program, which means that your training starts your PGY2 year, then you also will hopefully have interviewed at prelim programs, so like an intern year for internal medicine. And so you will have to make a primary list and you will have to make a supplemental list. I don't know if you knew this because if you're not, you're applying to internal medicine. So it's
Yeah.
a whole thing.
I don't have a clue about what you're talking about because I'm just applying to internal medicine, but
Hmm.
it's great to hear. Keep on
Yeah,
talking,
because
because I know that many people are probably applying to several different specialties.
right. And so the Nrnp website has videos on it. I watched it when I applied, but like when I applied to mostly categorical programs. So that included the intern year in addition to the 3 extra years for neurology training. I did interview with one advanced program, but they included the prelim year. So for those of you that are applying to advanced programs where your training starts your PGY2 year. So dermatology, radiology, PM&R is a big one. You will put your advanced programs in your primary list, and then you can make up to 16 supplemental lists, which is where you will list your prelim years. And so you will actually match your prelim years to your advanced programs of your primary list. And you can kind of like have multiple supplemental lists and like apply them to the programs that you have on your primary list. You cannot list an advanced program twice on your primary list. The only way that you can do that is if you're couples matching. So because like if you're, you know, wherever your partner is applying or whatever, like you can put things twice. It's a little confusing for couples matching. I never did that, but again, there's videos on the Nrnp website. So I think one of the biggest things, especially for those of you that are applying to advanced programs and have prelim years, keep in mind that you can match to an advanced program. So you can match to your neurology, your dermatology, your radiology, you know, advanced training, but then you could basically, once you match into that advanced program, your prelim or your supplemental lists will like make an effort to match you into a prelim year. So that's your internal medicine year. Things to take into consideration is location, like you said, right? Like as far as like what location is important to you. Some people will, you know, apply to a prelim year that's in one state and then have to move immediately after intern year and go to another state. In my program, we have a bunch of prelim years and a bunch of people who had to do that, you know. So I'm in Missouri, which is like in the middle of the country, and there are people who had to move to Georgia or to California. And so keep in mind that you're gonna have to find a place to live in the middle and like during intern year, which can be hectic. So there's some people who like don't move that far, but take that into consideration on how you're gonna match up your prelim years with your advanced years. Mm-hmm. There is a possibility also for you to match into an advanced program and not match into a prelim year. So if that happens to you, then you still have the opportunity to SOAP. So I'm sure, are you familiar with the SOAP process?
Okay, so very brief disclaimer right now. So everything you're saying, I had no clue how it worked. Actually, you're just showing to me the matrix and everything, and its sequels and everything. So yeah, I had no clue because I'm applying only to internal medicine. So I'm just making that basic building block rank order list, and I'm done with it. But it's very interesting to know. I know many people are also applying to preliminary and also couples match, everything. All that is great to know. So yeah, I will not mention a thing while you're explaining this. I will talk about the basic rank order list. I'm not talking about the SOAP because actually I made my mind. I know this might sound strange. I made my mind. I'm matching this year. So I'm not thinking about the SOAP right now. If I have to enter the SOAP, I will go for it, but I'm not thinking about it right now. Yeah, because I'm hopefully planning to match on this main Nrnp, but yeah, you explain us all about it, and I'm learning right now.
Okay, good. I mean, and like hopefully, you know, and like I said, I'm rooting for you. I'm sure that you will have a positive outcome. But like the thing is too, is also transitional years are another thing that is applicable to these supplemental lists. So again, per the Nrnp website, and you have obviously hopefully registered with the Nrnp if you're applying to the match because you have to in order to participate in the match. So for your supplemental lists, again, you can have up to 16 and you can match them accordingly. So again, things to take into consideration. Are you willing to move the distance to wherever you have to, and things of that nature? So again, if you match into an advanced program, but you don't match into a preliminary program, you can SOAP into a preliminary program. And that can be, you know, if it's a surgical residency as well, you can SOAP into your prelim surgical year and what have you. If for some reason you match into an advanced program, but you don't match into a prelim year and you're unable to secure a position through the SOAP, there's opportunities after the SOAP and after the match that programs go unfilled and they still need to fill their spots because all residency programs essentially get funding, and in order to keep that funding, they need to fill their program. So if you're unable to procure a position even after that, you have until July 1st to find a position. And so if you are matched into an advanced program, but you have been unable or unsuccessful to actually procure an intern position, you can ask for a like hold or something like that, a waiver through the Nrnp to hold that position. So you don't actually lose it and you can kind of reapply, I guess, for the next year. I don't know all of the details about that. Again, that's like information that would be on the NRNP website. Um, and so that's kind of how you'll rank your lists. You have to certify your lists in order to have them be like official. Okay. And so if you are planning on ranking like a boatload of lists or a boatload of programs and you actually have to like pay for those extra programs, if you decide that you're no longer wanting to like certify that many, but like you have already like certified the list, you can recertify, but just do it before the deadline. But whatever money you pay is non-refundable. So you will lose that. So make sure that you're actually thinking about where you want to be for however many years for your training, and make sure that like, you know, you feel like you will actually be happy in that program, because once you match to a program, you're contractually obligated to complete that at least 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
So some people, you know, you can't just like bow out like, oh, I don't want to go there. So again, please rank your programs based on where you want to be, not where you think you will be ranked, like who will rank you highest.
Correct.
um that's like literally the most important thing, if, again, to take into consideration, because like it's going to be the next, even if it's just 1 year, you know, you don't want to be miserable. Like you said, like it
Mm-hmm.
is your life, like you want to make sure that like you are going to be happy where you're matching.
Correct.
So
So, so basically, yeah, this will be different for all of us. It depends on all the math we are making in our heads. So
mhm.
in my case, I am very uh, simple-minded. So in my case, I am just going for the match. I am doing the least I need to do in order to hopefully match in this
Mhm.
main match season. If I don't get that, I'll start figuring out what the soap is and doing whatever I have to do for the soap. But this information you're saying is great. You have already gone through it. You are already matched. I believe that you have a lot people or applicants can learn from you. And as well, you are also offering services with checking through their CVs and making them the best version they can. So anyone that needs advice on their CV or all these complicated things, SOAP and preliminary and all that, please,
Uh-huh.
you know who to look for. Here you have Procrastination MD. If you have other questions such as the the basic building blocks on a rank order list, I guess you can maybe ask me, although I haven't matched yet, so I still have no credibility. But what I am doing is that I'm basically doing what Jessica is telling us is you can't rank another program based on the way you think they will rank you, because that is setting yourself up for failure, because
Mhm.
it's you have to put yourself first. So once you put yourself first, you will choose number one, or you will place the top position to the program you feel the best. You won't be doing all this math. You won't go through Reddit and see what are the chances for me and how many places
Yeah,
did they
please don't.
fill last year. That's crazy, and you'll eventually regret it if you end up matching in a place that you didn't even want to go, right? So
Mhm.
I'm telling you guys based on my own experience. Of course, it's not in the US, but I lived through a residency here in Costa Rica. It wasn't the best experience. It wasn't maybe it was a good experience because I like to see the glass half full. But
Mhm.
but I know that uh, many people wouldn't have liked living through that experience because it was very difficult at times. For example, there was no wellness center, uh, there was no support for the residents, and I can say this uh, confidently because I actually sought and I looked for what were the support groups for residents during the
Mhm.
COVID pandemic, during hard times, and the I found out there was no support group. So these are things that when you are planning your rank list, think about them because you will be 3 years there. These people that you will be seeing on a daily basis, they will become part of your family.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, when you're 10 years down the line, you will remember who Ademir was from from I don't know, from the other part of the globe, and and yeah, so be sure that the place you rank is a place you like the city, you hopefully like the people. We have to understand that, as in my case, as an IMG, I am also a US IMG because yeah, I'm a US citizen. You are also a US IMG,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a little, our chances are usually more limited than US medical graduates in the amount of interviews we get, and
Mm-hmm.
and, and many US IMGs or IMGs in general, which actually have had to undertake medical school out of the US,
Mm-hmm.
have a tough time because look at me, I graduated basically 8 years, more than 8 years ago, and I have a very strong, yeah, curriculum and application. I've been working my whole life in medicine, and when you rank me or when yeah, programs just filter you out, given clicking a button, they are just searching for those that are 5 years or less uh, time since graduation,
Mm-hmm.
and so things are tougher, and many IMGs know the struggle required to get here. And many IMGs also acknowledge that if they get one fighting chance, if they get only one option to match, they will probably take it. That if it
Yeah.
was me, if I would have achieved only one interview, I probably would say yes, because I probably would say yes. I know it would be a tough time and everything, but you have to it, put things into context. I
Mm-hmm.
I want to keep on growing. I know that even in a not so good place in the US, I will probably have many more tools than I have right now here in my home country. So you have to feel it. You have to have your activate your gut feeling. So use the rank order list, use match resident, use all the advice, but at the end of the day, when you're ranking, it only gets numbers will take you so far, right? To a
Mm-hmm.
certain extent, numbers won't be able to make you decide upon option one and two. Probably option one and two will be very similar. What
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend is pay attention to what your gut is saying right there in that moment in time. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
remember that this isn't about you having to go to the school that has the best name, because a best name won't make you feel good inside. Maybe the place that doesn't sound that good but actually can give you weekends off might be better than the place that will make you work harder, better name, and in the end maybe your chances will be the same for a subspecialty or for placement in another place. So yeah, I think it's a lot about trying to sort it out, trying to be objective. I would also recommend talking it through, like the way
Mm-hmm.
we are talking right now. Talk to your friends. What I've done is I've talked to different friends. I've asked them, okay, these are my options. If you were in my shoes, what would you do? So they tell me, but you are the one that has to decide. Yeah, of course, I know that,
Yeah.
but I'm taking into account other people's point of views and
Mm-hmm.
seeing framing that and seeing what is my own opinion based on their choices. So that's basically, yeah, the recommendations. To finish with the other points I take into account is, of course, the academics and the
Mm-hmm.
strength of the program is one of the most important things for me. I've also always been very competitive. So in general, I always want to be in the toughest place. So you can tell me, you don't have to give me any other like description of a place. You can tell me, okay, this one and this one. This one is green, this one is blue, and this one only 20% of students are passing, and this one 85% pass. So I'll usually choose this one, even without knowing why these students aren't passing, because I'll think, okay, this is much more difficult. I'll probably
Mm-hmm.
grow more from here. So, so that competitiveness usually goes with searching for a high performing institution in the academic scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I look for. But since I've matured and already lived through a residency and everything, and I've seen what happens to your body when you're 36-hour shifts, right, without nonstop, without sleeping. So there's where I draw the line and say, okay, from now on, I really don't care if this institution is called uh, whatever, right? I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
name any, but the best institution you can think of. So now I'm going to think a little more of, okay, where will I feel good? Where will I be able to become my best version while still
Mm-hmm.
enjoying myself, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. And I mean, as somebody, also like as IMGs, often we apply to multiple specialties, right? So like I applied to neurology and I also applied to internal medicine. So I got like two invitations for internal medicine. But as far as like the programs, I only interviewed at one, and I knew that I wasn't really going to be happy at an internal medicine program. So I actually put that at the bottom of my rank list. So that's also something I think to take into consideration is if you are applying to two specialties, like after you interview with that specialty, like realistically speaking, oh no, we lost Dr. Charles. Hopefully he'll get back here. But realistically speaking, like if you are applying, like again, I applied to neurology and I applied to internal medicine. I know for IMGs, especially like, across the world, we lost you.
yeah. Sorry, I was trying to go through the comment section, and I don't
Oh,
know how
okay.
I got out of this. So I was listening that you were keep on. Sorry for
Yeah,
the
no, that's okay.
interruption.
So I was just saying, like, so a lot of IMGs are told that, to apply to multiple specialties. So I applied to neurology and I also applied to internal medicine. And I put most of my effort towards neurology. So, like, that's where I got most of my interviews. And I did have like two interviews or two invites for internal medicine programs. I only interviewed at one, but like did not like it. And I didn't think that I would be happy in an internal medicine program. And honestly, after completing an intern year in internal medicine, I know that I would not have been happy in an internal medicine program. But also keep in mind that you were just contractually obligated for that year. So even if like for some reason you do match into a specialty that you weren't exactly planning on matching into, like either if you wanted it like emergency medicine or something else, you're only obligated for that first year. You can always reapply the next year.
Hmm.
Um, the other things I think to take into consideration is it only takes one interview. It really does. Like, I mean, usually people say the magic number is 10 as far as like you will have a higher likelihood of matching. I literally have a friend who's in my program now he's an anesthesiology resident now, had one interview, and that's where he's currently at.
Hmm.
And so it really only takes one interview. And I know like some people might be discouraged at the number that they have. I mean, like it takes one. It literally just takes one. So I think that's also something to keep in mind.
Hmm.
We Everyone who goes through this process will doubt themselves and wonder if they're enough, and like it's unfortunate that that's how we feel, but like everyone's going through this process, so like you're not alone in the trenches, I guess is the best way to put it. um but at least hopefully the stuff that you learned here tonight will be helpful. And I was just going to kind of go through some of the questions, if that's okay, that we were
Yeah.
asked. So one of them is saying, if I rank a program last and I know they're ranking me in their top 10, should I include them? I don't want the algorithm to match me low on my list. So again, if you rank a program last because you don't like that's the priority of that program, that you actually don't want to be there, despite the fact that they tell you that they might rank you number one, your rank order list, again, for the love of God, please listen to these words, because your rank order list should be based on where you want to go, not how you think programs will rank you. Like that's the biggest thing.
And that's based on what you were mentioning initially. on the way this is made. It's made it favors the applicant. So what will happen is that you put you write down option one. So the algorithm will go look at your order, your rank order list before going to see the university's rank order list. So number one, you chose MRI. So if MRI doesn't have you on the list, they'll go and see what's your number two option, and they'll go like that on all of your options. So choose wisely, choose the place you would be willing to go. Do not write down anything you won't like going, because as you mentioned, it's legally binding. You will have to go there for a year, and you might even get into trouble if you're in a place you don't like. So better don't don't write it down if you don't want to. So
Exactly.
I can't see can you see the comments section? Because I can't. I tried to scroll on it and it just
I
tried to.
can, but there's a little thing where there's questions where I'm answering some of them. And like the next one is asking for family medicine, would you rank an academic institution over a community program? And really that's just kind of preference. And I think that's with any program. You know, you can have community-based programs, you can have more academic. It just kind of depends on where you see your career going.
Correct.
Like if you want to be in academic medicine, then obviously that would be the best place for you. You know, it just depends on where you see yourself in 5 or 10 years. So that's really preference. And like, again, that's going to determine how you're going to rank your programs. So
yeah, and for that question, you have to also try to individualize and go see what are the characteristics of this program. Ideally, for example, I rotated physically at a place which was a community program, and it was much better than academic programs. Certain academic programs I already knew. So you have to make this, it's a one-on-one, right? So you have to check it out based on the program, because there are community programs that you might think they aren't very academic driven, that it may be totally false, right? So you have to try to read through what they offer, try to see what people rotate in here say. And yeah, it's not a superficial decision. It's a decision that you have to take your time, read it through. For example, one tool I use is the Metro Resident Rank Assist. People write their comments about interview day. So you can go read that and you can say, okay, I like this. Everyone is marking 5 stars, or in this program, everyone's marking 1, 2 stars. So that gives you a clue on things. That's like the best, maybe objective slash subjective version of figuring this out. Because if you go on Reddit, if you go on Yelp, you'll see everyone nagging about everything. So it's very difficult to,
yeah,
get a
I
real.
never even went on those, because like statistically speaking, there's no way I should have matched with like the way my step scores were. But it's just like, you know, those things are only so helpful, and usually it's just a bunch of trolls on there anyways that like really don't know that much, like who aren't involved in the process at all, and just don't listen to them.
True.
The best thing I can say.
Well
Okay,
said.
the next question I have is the rank order list on the actual Nrnp website? I believe it is. I think you have to go through the Nrnp website. So when you actually filled out your ERAS application, you register for the Nrnp. So it's
Yes.
through their website. And I mean, you can also go to their website, and there's a bunch of videos, a bunch of YouTube videos that are super helpful on their website. So if you are confused, even after this whole like live, you can watch the videos, which I watched, which helped me understand this whole process when I was applying. So
For everyone listening, what I would recommend you guys doing is that since you don't have to certify your rank order list right now, you can use the Matcha Resident tool, which is, I actually have my rank order list on the Matcha Resident. As soon as I interview in a place, I go and use their tool, and that tells me a rating. So 8.9, 8.7, and I have all of my different programs on that. So I know how I will rank them when I have to certify it on the Nrnp, because once you certify it, what I thought would happen is that it was impossible to change. But you mentioned to us that you could even recertify it. I am sure that will be a hassle. So most people won't like to recertify this,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, if you don't know what to do and you get to this difficult road, you know who to ask.
Yeah, so you can recertify it. It's just that you have to make sure that it's certified by the deadline is really the biggest thing. And I think on their website, there's also a video describing and explaining that a little further. But yeah, I think really this is like the rest of your life, or at least the next year. So please, please, please make sure that you're understanding how this whole process works and that you are putting together the best rank list for you and your situation. Let's see. Other questions are, does rank preference differ based on specialty? I think that's really just you, like your preference. So like if you're applying to more than one specialty, again, if you really don't see yourself being happy, like for instance, for me, like I don't think I would have been happy in an internal medicine program because that's not where my passion is. So don't rank that program or rank it at the very bottom of your list is the way that I would explain it. But also understand that there is a possibility that you could match there. If it's on your list, there's a possibility you can match there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. True. So maybe if there's a place that offers two specialties and you're applying to both of them, there is the possibility that one specialty is ranked very highly in something you like, and
mhm.
maybe the other specialty is ranked poorly or there's no statistics on it. So if that's the case, yeah, of course, it can change your rank order list. But yeah, it's basically you have to, yeah, see it case by case.
Exactly. Um, the other thing is someone asked about what do you feel about pre-match? I don't have any feelings about it because I didn't do it, but I do have a friend who pre-matched into psych. And so for those of you that don't know what pre-match is, it's essentially a job offer that comes like, so you don't have to apply to like through the match, but like then you are going to be contractually obligated to fulfill whatever your contract says for that particular institution.
Mhm.
So that's, I mean, dependent on where you're at and the programs that you apply to.
Mhm. So in my case, I didn't officially get a pre-match, but I guess I got something like that, somewhat informally. So a
Mm-hmm.
program basically told me if we were to tell you right now that we would accept you, what would you say? Basically, they basically said that, or
Mm-hmm.
they asked me that. So it was a program that I wasn't that fond of. It wasn't my number one option.
Mm-hmm.
So I was sincere. So I said, okay, so you would probably have to give me 24 hours because I don't decide on things so
Mm-hmm.
important immediately. So if you give me one day to sleep on it, I will probably be able to tell you tomorrow. So in the end, they didn't contact me. I don't know if they were bluffing or if they were, yeah, testing me. But
Mm-hmm.
the learning point here is you can't just say yes to anything, and you can't go into a legally binding contract just because, right? Just because you have to take the opportunity. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, if anything is better than wherever you are in the world right now or whatever you are living, so yes, so take it as soon as you get it. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're aiming for something higher or something different, think it through.
Yeah, the other thing to take into consideration is if you do actually accept a pre-match offer, then you can't actually participate in the match anymore. So like your application will be null and void to all the other programs that you apply to. So that's also something to take into consideration. If you're willing to do that because you love that program and you like, let's say it's your dream program, then yes, by all means, take the opportunity. But again, as Dr. Charles said, like weigh the options. You can't just make these decisions on a whim. You really have to think it through.
Correct.
Let's see. People were talking about your visa status being important, and yes, I agree with that. Be it J1 or H1B, that's gonna obviously should be taken into consideration for whatever program that you hope to match to. Um, let's see. I don't think there's that many more. And I hope we answered most of you guys' questions. I know it's kind of a dense topic and it is very confusing. Another person asked about pros and cons of new programs. So my experience, I'm actually technically in a new program. It's not like super new. It's like we graduated our first class this past year, but I interviewed at a brand new program. And I mean, I guess the pros would be like you're kind of going to pave the way for everyone behind you. You tend to get a lot more like goodies as far as like the funding that they have. So like you might get like an iPhone or like maybe some other things like that, but like because they have more money to spend on their first class. But I mean, then it's going to be a lot of growing pains and figuring out what works. So I mean, it's going to be kind of preference, what you're willing to put up with, or if you're willing to. I mean, good things about newer programs and younger programs is there's a lot of like changes that can be made that can be positive for the program, and it's not so strict in what they do. Like they're not like, oh, we've done this way for 80 years and like we're not going to change. So it's just, again, that's going to be preference. So
Yeah. Yeah, so I would add to that that yeah, new program is double-edged sword. So you're not sure. So you're unsure of the future. If you have a good gut feeling about the program, rank it highly. If not, don't play the chance. Don't take the chance. So in my case, I applied to a program which is very new. It's gonna have its second. I would be, or if I were accepted, I would be the second graduating class basically from this program, and I'm considering it highly. So those are some difficulties we all face. So I liked what they were offering. For example, they were offering a butterfly for the new residents. So that's something that appeals me. I like the idea that we can be assessed with ultrasonographically on the go and everything. So those are details you have to take into account, but at the end of the day, you're going into the unknown territory, right?
yeah, exactly. Also, I don't know if this thing is going to cut us off after an hour. If it does, I can just restart a live. Um,
Okay.
but I think there was like one more question. Someone said, if you have just 3 interviews, will their number 3 ranked program be considered as low? I mean, really, again, this algorithm is supposed to work in your favor. So like if it doesn't, if you don't match to your first program, it's just going to continue down the line, and hopefully match you into one of those 3 programs. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
so wherever you interviewed, okay. So if you interviewed at a place and you know you did horribly and you just wasted your chance, so and if it's your top program, it's the place you dream of, but on that interview day you just became a robot and weren't able to do anything correctly, you could still put it number one. Worst thing that will happen is you won't get ranked. The algorithm will look for what's your number 2, and that's it. But yeah, as long as you didn't make anything that might be unforgivable, rank them if you like the program.
Exactly. I mean, usually more often than not on like interviews, like you're just gonna feel like I have no clue how that went. Sometimes you have a good feeling, sometimes you don't. But again, the take-home message is please, please, please rank based on where you want to be, not how you think you're gonna be ranked. And I mean, I have a post I think on like what I considered as far as important, like I said, cost of living, income taxes, things of that nature. You can always Google it for wherever that program is. But I mean, yeah, think about where you want to be. Like it's going to be a couple of years of your life. For me, it's 4 years. I mean, I'm in my second year now, and I was kind of upset about like how much I liked this program because I really enjoyed the people. I thought they were wonderful, and I knew it was going to be in the Midwest as far as cost of living. It made sense for me. It is a little more country than I had anticipated, but I am very happy where I'm at. Like I love the people I work with, and like it was a gut feeling, like you had mentioned earlier. Like go with your gut because more often than not, it's going to hopefully lead you in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So can I ask you about
mhm.
what did you do because this is probably important for most of us here. So how were you able to choose option number one over option number two on your rank order list? Because I believe it's pretty simple for you to differ between option number one, option number three, four, right? If you're an
Mm-hmm.
incredible candidate, maybe I don't know how many interviews you'll get, but in general, it's always difficult to differentiate between option number one and number two. What considerations did you take in order to choose one over two?
So my option number one, I got that interview because someone canceled last minute. And so I happened to be at that institution completing an elective rotation. And it's a well-known institution. I'm not going to name it just because, like, at the end of the day, I'm very happy that I didn't match there. The only reason I ranked it was purely because of the name, but I didn't really want to go there. Like, and so my number two, where I matched, was actually my number one choice. And so, I mean, I think that that one program that I interviewed at that I did rank as number one, like just kind of gave me like numbers in my favor as far as like having 9 interviews for neurology. But at the end of the day, I don't think I was going to be that happy there. So don't do what I did.
Yeah.
Because my number two was, like I said, it really was my number one. For me personally, the reason why I chose that particular, like the program that I'm in now, there's a lot of female staff, female neurology staff, which isn't that common at a lot of hospitals. Resident wellness was important. Again, cost of living was important to me. Like I didn't want to be breaking bank because residents don't get paid a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Things like abilities to make a doctor's appointment and leave for a half day is important to me. So like actually having the opportunity to take care of your own health, which wound up being very positive for me in the past year because like there were issues with my own health that like I had to take a lot of doctor's appointments that weren't initially planned. Amount of vacation time, the amount of free food money that you get at a hospital was also important to me, whether or not you had to pay for parking. So like there's other like little things that like I said, I used the rank order list for match a resident, but I also had an Excel spreadsheet of like extra stuff that wasn't on the rank order list. So like again, the amount of free food for money, the amount of money that you get for academia and like going to conferences. And then whether like as far as like other things that were covered. So like did they pay for step 3? Like things like that I felt were important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
That actually, yeah, that's basically what I'm doing with the spreadsheet. I'm using it because for example, one of the things I'm taking into account is cost of living. So if you guys see, programs in New York, you'll see that salaries will be probably most of them above $60,000. If you see programs in towards the south, you'll see that they are closer to the $50,000 mark. And that doesn't mean you will get paid a little more over there, but cost of living is way higher. So for example, I used this page called nerdwallet.com, and I figured out that in the end you're earning the same. So when you're taking these things into account, you can't just look at the number. You have to see in the context of where you're living, what will it cost for transportation. Will you need a car? Will you be able to use public transportation? Is the place dangerous to live in? You have to take everything into account if you have the options. If you don't have the options and there's just one fighting chance and you're ready for it, so go for it, right?
Exactly.
So it depends on what you're after.
Yeah, exactly. Also, yeah, like touching on like where you interview in the country. I interviewed in Long Island, which is very expensive, and so they actually included an extra $3,000 in your monthly salary because of cost of living. So like it is very expensive in certain places.
Yeah.
Trying to think of what else. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of things to take into consideration. Like, are you like really? It's where you're going to be the happiest. And I mean, you know, it'll work out the way it's supposed to work out at the end of the day. So. Yeah, but I think that's all of the questions that I have. Do you have any questions for like that like you want answered or like that you think are important that you know, since this is the first time you're going through it, that like you wish you would have known going into it or anything like that?
Hmm. Okay, so I'll ask you, for example, yeah, this is a question, or this is a consideration many of you must take as well. For example, when you're taking into account a place that maybe it's not a, yeah, the cost of living might be high versus a place where the cost of living is low. So there's a big institution where the cost of living is high versus a small institution where the cost of living is low. Sometimes these big institutions have moonlighting, which means that you could do this after your second year of residency. So that might be able to level out your economy. So take into account all the different considerations you have. For example, if you are able to go to this large institution where cost of living is high, and in your second year do a couple of different shifts of moonlighting, you could
Hmm.
be well off, and it could be what you need. Because so in my case, I would be moving with my wife and two dogs, so I have to be sure that I will be able to provide
Hmm.
at least for the first months uh,
Hmm.
before she starts working, or yeah, we get to that stability. So in my case, the salary and cost of living and everything will definitely be more important than someone who is alone, which has no
Hmm.
pets, which will be just in charge of themselves, right?
Hmm.
So, well, question for you would be, now that we're talking about that, is um, I it's a little off topic. It's also, but I believe it's important for everyone that's applying, because not all of us have experience in U.S. healthcare system.
Hmm.
So, although I did undertake some observerships, I wasn't at those times where there were night shifts. So, what's the
Hmm.
difference between a night shift, moonlighting, and being on call? Are they three different things, or what happened?
So it depends on the program that you're at. As far as the ACGME guidelines go, there are certain requirements that you have to be within. So, like for a given month, for a given 4 week period, you're not supposed to exceed like 80 hours, an average of 80 hours a week, right? So, if you have a program that does night shift versus like a call shift, so a night shift would just be like you come in after the day shift is done, like you get the checkout, and then you're there for like until the morning until they come in. So it could be a 12-hour shift, like 5 to 5 or 5 to 7 or what have you. A call shift is often like, especially if it's a 24-hour call shift, you can have your normal day shift, then you will participate in a call. So like then it'll just be you kind of covering whatever list. Like for instance, we have a 24-hour call only at one of the institutions that we rotate at. And so the normal shift is like 7:15 to like 4:30. And then when I'm on 24-hour call, then I'm the only neurology resident in hospital, but there's an attending, and then I'm there until the next morning to do checkout, plus an extra 4 hours. So the max that you can work is 24 plus 4. So the extra 4 is just to continue whatever like continuity of care for whatever like patients you admitted. If you're doing just a regular call shift, sometimes they can also just do a short call. So like you can work like a couple hours, like say sometimes on short calls, like on Fridays. Last year, there was at one of our institutions, like you would just work from, usually you're done around 4, so 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then you'll just work from 4 to 7 until the night shift comes in. Moonlighting is very program dependent. Um, in order to do that, you can pick up a couple after extra shifts, but you still have to like stay within the ACGME guidelines. So you can't be like working for like 36 hours straight, because like it's dangerous. Like it's not safe for you. It's not
Yeah.
safe for the patients. So as long as you remain within your program guidelines and within your ACGME guidelines, that you're not breaking duty hours, then you should be fine. And
Hmm.
usually you have to like log your duty hours. So like you'll log if you moonlight, or like you'll log like how you're on call or if you're post call.
Okay, got it. So, uh, one question about being on call for
Mm-hmm.
24 hours. If you are
Mm-hmm.
on call for 24 hours,
Mm-hmm.
does this mean, because the word on call seems like you can go home? It, what
So it
happens?
depends. It depends on the place. For my program at the one hospital that you're at, like you should be in the hospital the whole time. Sometimes you can go home, shower, come back. That's why something that was important to me was what the call room looked like and if they had a comfortable mattress. So like one program had like a memory foam mattress and I was like, all right, I like you. Like so like those things were important to me. But I mean, sometimes you can take call from home. It just depends. Like, so at another institute over the weekend, sometimes I'll take call from home. So, like, if I don't have to round on patients because we are a consult service, then I just take call from home and I answer pages from home and I have access to the EMR remotely.
Okay,
So, it just depends again on the institution that you're at, your program requirements.
got it, got it. Let me see what other question people here might want to ask you. Let's see, rank
Oh, the
order
other
list.
thing that I
Yeah.
wanted to mention also is like for those of you who have federal loans, as far as student loans go, because like I have a boatload, make sure if it's something that you want to participate as far as public service loan forgiveness, that your program actually applies for that. So if that's something that's important to you, you can definitely email your program and ask them um, if they qualify for public service loan forgiveness.
Okay, okay. So that's a way of repaying the loan through a faster or easier route without having to actually pay it in cash.
Well, so like for US federal loans, I mean, you can pay for your education, but they're like, it's crazy how much education costs sometimes. And so it will literally like bind you to the government essentially for like ever, especially with like interest. But if you want to participate in public service loan forgiveness, there's an option for you to pay a much less amount than the actual amount of your loans over a certain time period by working for a not-for-profit institution. And more often than not, hospitals are not for profit. But make sure that wherever your paycheck is getting, that you're getting your paycheck from, is also not for profit. Because sometimes you can work for a not for profit hospital, but where you're actually getting paid for is a for profit institution.
Mm, okay, so
You
devil
might not
lies
have to
in the
worry about
details.
that.
Yeah, I won't, but yeah, the devil lies in the details, right? We have to
Exactly.
check that out. Okay, that's a great tip for anyone trying to get off those loans. Best of luck for you on that, and I'm sure you're on a good track. Uh, yeah, so
Hopefully. I mean, hopefully I won't be paying loans until the day that I die. So, yeah.
so what else? What's the importance of salary during residency? Is it a how high do you rank this on your when you did your rank order list? What was the importance you gave to salary?
So, I mean, like residency, you don't make a lot of money no matter what, right? Like it's just the way it is. I mean, something I guess that is important to me, right, is for me personally with respect to my loans, it kind of works in your favor that you don't get paid a whole lot during your residency training because then you can participate in an income-driven repayment plan. And because the income isn't like crazy through the roof, your student loan payments tend to be less. Right now, obviously, student loan payments are like being held by the government just because of COVID, as well as the interest. So like I haven't had to pay anything since starting residency, which is phenomenal, but that's just because everything is kind of like paused because of COVID. So
Mhm.
that was important to me. I mean, again, every year, usually your income increases with each postgraduate year that you're in. So that's like all residencies across the board, but it had to be a livable wage that I wasn't like starving for food, like you said, like your wife is going to be with you. You have to be able to at least provide for your household if you're only going to be like a single income household for a certain amount of time.
Mhm.
So being able to live and not like starve is essentially what was important to me for income.
Okay. Nice, nice. Um, yeah. Also wanted to ask, can you answer a couple more questions?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm gonna have to go to bed soon, but I can definitely answer a couple more questions.
Okay. Maybe two more questions.
Okay.
So, most of us, or during this interview season, it's very difficult to figure out what are the negatives of the program because you see all these programs and most of the people are it, okay, so it's gonna be limited the amount of things or the quality of the things you'll see during a virtual interview is
Mm-hmm.
going to be very limited compared to you being there in person and seeing how walking through the corridors and seeing how doctors treat the patient and living the whole experience. So in this
Mm-hmm.
interview season, which is virtual, of course, the residents you'll see in the interface will probably be the residents that are willing to speak positively about the program. You won't see the resident that is fed up with the program, right? You won't, the program director wants to sell their program.
Yeah.
You won't see the person that is the attendant that doesn't want to receive any more students. So how can we navigate this and find the real negatives from the programs so we can rank them?
I mean, even in person, like you still have people, like, yes, you can see them like face to face and actually see how tired people are, I guess. But like one of my favorite questions that I asked residents, like at the pre-interview dinners, is like, if you had to choose again, like, would you pick this program again? I asked that at almost every single interview, and I only ever got a no at like one place. And obviously, I ranked them very low because I was like, oh God, like that's concerning. But I mean, I think that's a good question to ask because, like, you get kind of a sense of like, okay, like, is there anything you would want to change? Like, it's important also to understand, like, in questions to ask, like, how do they, like, receive feedback from their residents and how long does it take to implement that change? That's another
Mhm.
way to, like, at least kind of figure out, like, do they listen to their residents? Most programs will have, um, what is it, evaluations that you have to fill out for every rotation that you complete. You also evaluate your peers. Um, I think something like asking also like just the staff that you interview with is like how approachable are you, like as far, or like ask the residents too, is like how approachable is your staff?
Mhm.
How open are they to feedback? How are issues dealt with? And how quickly are issues dealt with? I think those are just questions that you can ask. Because
Mhm.
if they don't really know, then that means like maybe there isn't a good, like there isn't something that's good in place that like allows efficiency in communication, of reporting issues or issues you might have either with a rotation or issues you might have with a colleague or in attending or whatever. So if they can't answer those questions like pretty quickly, then maybe it might make you a little hesitant.
Okay, okay. That sounds very good. I actually use something like that on the interviews. So I usually, because I've noticed that if I don't ask the programs, can you tell me, okay, everything has been great, everything marvelous. Can you tell me some of the negatives from your program? So I tell the different residents, for for example, there are three residents in the chat room, so I tell them,
Mm-hmm.
can each of you say something negative of the program without repeating the same answer?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things I've seen that sometimes works. Um, but yeah, it's difficult to figure this out. So thank you
Mm-hmm.
for those pointers for everyone here. And maybe my last question is, would would sending a thank you letter after the interview or sending a letter of intent change your ranking or not? So not in the sense of receiving a response, because I know that most or almost every or no one will be receiving responses. It's very strange to receive a response based on my eras recommending the post interview communication to be slim to none, only very specific topics. So,
Mm-hmm.
based as the applicant, so would you change your rank order list? For example, if you didn't send a letter of intent to a program, you forgot sending a letter of intent or forgot sending a thank you letter, would that change your ranking or not?
I don't know if I can honestly speak to how that would change just because I'm not a part of like a committee that selects people, right? Like we can, like for our program, we can make recommendations for people to interview. But for me personally, in my experience, like I wrote thank you letters to every person. Like I didn't email, I sent handwritten letters. And like if it was a program that I particularly liked, I took notes on every single person that I interviewed with. And I made sure that each of those thank you letters were personalized and said something about like what we talked about. I don't know. You know, it's if you are really interested in that program, then yes, like send a letter of intent saying like this is why I want to be a part of your program. Like your goals and like your, you know, like interaction with the community, like whatever, like really aligns with what I want in training. So like if you're interested, then yes, like by all means do a letter of intent. There's programs who will straight up say do not contact us, and I'd probably respect that, but like
Mhm.
um you know, even programs that I didn't like, I still wrote thank you letters. Like if I didn't like them that much, like I would just write it to the program director and the coordinator. I wouldn't include every single person that I interviewed with.
Okay.
So I would do it if it's a program that you really, really want to be a part of.
Mhm.
Um, and also, I guess like just to backtrack on like how to figure out what things are negative about a program, another question to ask is like, posing it to your program directors is like there's too much evidence out there for burnout. Like how are you actively combating it in your program? Because it's like so easy to get burnt out, especially like now, like with the pandemic. Like those are very important things to ask because at the end of the day, like you matter, your experience matters, your life matters, your health matters, because you can't become a great physician if you actually can't take care of yourself and if you don't have the opportunity to take care of yourself. So all of these things need to be taken into consideration when you're putting together your rank list.
Mhm. Okay, okay. Well, sounds great. Thank you for your
Of
time,
course.
Jessica. It's been a pleasure to meet you. So those are basically my main questions. I believe I learned a lot. Most people here learned a lot. I've
I
seen
hope so.
this. 28 people have been seeing this live without leaving, so it's been pretty helpful, probably. Um, yeah, no other questions I can think of right now. Yeah, do you have any question for me?
I mean, I just am wishing you the best of luck. I know, like, it seems like you have your goals set in place, and like, I hope that you crush it this year. I hope that you match to your highest program, and I'm sure you're going to be amazing. I love meeting people from who train in other countries and getting to know people in that regard. So it's always nice to hear a different experience. I think that you provided some good insight, and I really appreciate the time that you took as well to participate in this live. So yeah, you're going to be
So
great. It's stressful, but you're going to do great. You'll have to keep me posted on whether or not you match,
I'll
or
keep you
whether if
posted.
when you match.
Yeah. So that's the spirit. Everyone here, fake it till you make it. So that's what we have to do. So I'm almost sure for I'm almost for certain I'm almost certain that I'm matching this year. So it's based on different things. So everyone here, you have to understand that your journey is different. Sometimes I believe in destiny, so I believe that I have my gut feeling um, very concentrated on me making this and being a resident as of July 2022. But if you don't feel it, it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that um, you are failing. It means that maybe there's something for you to learn, or maybe you have to go at this a second time, or just cross yourself, do your best, and even if you're not feeling it, just play the cards because you've got you haven't got this far to only get this far. That's it's something like that. So today isn't my
Exactly.
best day in fluency. I'm sorry for that. And yeah, thank you very much, Jessica. I'll
Of
keep you
course.
posted and hope to speak to you in the future.
Yeah, I hope you feel better as well.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Nice meeting you. And also, everyone, like if you ever want to reach out, please, you can follow me at Procrastination MD. And then I don't know if you want people to follow you, what's your Instagram handle?
Okay, yeah, my handle is Dr. Charles Clinton. So I'm all for the Pygmalion effect, which basically is I believe in you and you will be better. So that's scientifically proven. So I like helping everyone out. Anything I've done that I can help you out with, I'm there willing to do so. If I don't know, I'll accept my ignorance as I did today with Jessica. So yeah.
Perfect.
So I think
All right.
both of us are for yeah, the growth of the
Exactly.
community in general, right?
Exactly. I'm biased. I think IMGs are phenomenal. So we need more of us in the medical field. And so, yeah, like I said, if you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Also, if you're not applying to this cycle, but you're applying next cycle, make sure you get a membership to Master Resident.
Yeah.
So,
Well said. Well said.
but
See
I
you,
think I'm going to
everyone.
go to bed because I have to work tomorrow morning. So,
Yeah. Well, I'll send you all my strength because I'll be sleeping probably.
perfect. I'll need it. All right. Have a great night.
Same to you.